Catholic and Western tradition, there are actually three places where the soul can go. First, heaven, and then, of course, the hot place, hell. And then there's a middle zone, which I think is probably the biggest of the two, and that is called purgatory.
We find many concepts of purgatory-like existences in a lot of mythologies. They're gray, kind of unhappy places where souls of the dead go in the afterlife.
Limbo and purgatory are creations of the medieval Catholic Church, and they were created in order to account for some theological problems that the church had about where people would go if they weren't baptized. As you know, if infants died before they were baptized, they'd wind up in limbo. They have to be someplace. So it's an invention of the church for a practical reason. There's no reference to either limbo or purgatory in the Bible. They have no basis whatsoever in the Hebrew or Christian scripture. And most of our ideas about what limbo is like and what purgatory is like come from Dante.
Some people consider our existence on Earth to be a type of purgatory in a way. And I think that's an interesting idea in the Hindu context. In the Hindu context, this is not our final destination. Our final destination is liberation. So it's a pit stop on the way to liberation.
We are in a state of limbo. We are working some time out here because of something we've done perhaps in another state of existence, or we might even be in a state of hell. We're being punished because we have paradise at our fingertips and we never seem to get it.
In the Jewish tradition, hell is called Gehenna, and it's kind of a purgatory. It's a place where the soul can be cleansed. That soul, unless he is of a particular category of heretic or somebody who's really done absolute evil in their lives, can be in hell, according to Judaism, up to 11 months.
According to some traditions, the angel of death will remove the soul from the physical body. And for those who are righteous and are of good character, that will be an easy process. But for those who are wicked or evil, that it will be like ripping the soul out from the body, and one's torment will begin even at that very moment.
What happens to these souls, I mean, funny, in our show, we've still never even particularly described. We've never said where you go, and we leave it mysterious because it is. But you're left as the soul, and you either move on or you don't. If you don't move on, you stay here, and then eventually you go mad, and you become this twisted thing, and that's where angry spirits come from.
The Catholic Church taught that doctrine some centuries ago, that if people were visited by a ghost, it was a cry for help from someone who was stuck in purgatory. Quite often they died unexpectedly, violently. They might have been murdered. They may have decided to commit suicide, or they just simply didn't want to go, and it came upon them and they didn't know how to get to the afterlife. It is a state of limbo, and we call these earthbound souls. There's another kind of ghost that will do the same thing, but it's really a residual ghost or an imprint.
Kind of like a videotape, somehow impressed on the atmosphere.
And if you come upon them at the right time in the right state of consciousness, you flip the switch and the video starts to play.
Ghosts are in the veil. They're in this realm between the living and the beyond. And they actually need a reaper to come in, a grim reaper, to come in and to escort them through the veil into the afterworld.
Where reapers work in our world is this way station between when you die and where you go to wherever you're going.
We see them as a part of nature, a force of nature. They have a job to do. They are the janitorial service of the universe.
Reapers are not unfeeling. It's not that they don't care, it's just that they care about a much bigger, longer picture, and that you're an ant on an anthill and they're a mountain.
The Bible, to my knowledge, does not have a character like the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper that we think of today, that image of the skeletal figure ushering you into death, into the afterlife, is based on Chiron, the Greek mythological figure that paddled the boat across the river Styx into Hades.
We've built up such a fear of death that this has become personified in this Grim Reaper figure, this dark, threatening entity who's going to take away everything that you want to hang on to and take you to some place where you might not want to be.
They're definitely part of the sort of the continuum from humanity to paradise, or purgatory, or hell. And purgatory, who knows? But I mean, like, they are the ferrymen and women.
It's a rather dark, depressing entity to usher a soul into the afterlife. Quite often, the messenger of death was a bright figure, someone who was alluring to make death more attractive so that you were able to let go of life.
The fight's over.
No, it isn't.
It is for you. Dean, you're not the first soldier I've plucked from the field. They all feel the same. They can't leave. Victory hangs in the balance, but they're wrong. The battle goes on without them.
People always talk about, you always hear all these stories, you know, somebody was a near-death experience, how they saw the light, and their body had this out-of-body experience and all that. And that's kind of comforting in a way. I think if people, you know, if that's the way you actually go, that would be, you know, sort of nice. And, you know, in a show that really kind of plays on horror, to actually play the Reaper this is not a bad thing, you know, when it's your time, if you can be gently lifted away, not so bad.
And if there is one true law in our cosmology, it's that there's a natural order, and when it's time to die, you die. And it might be sad, and it might be tragic, and you might miss your brother or your father or your husband or whatever, but you let them go.
It's a very powerful idea that this world is a fallen, bad place, and you shouldn't be attached to it. In the case of purgatory and limbo, you're looking at theological problems that the church had. They are Hellenistic ideas in the sense that the Greeks had this concept of Hades, which is the underworld. That idea crept into the Judeo-Christian era, which then later translated into the heaven and hell of the medieval Catholic Church and the purgatory and the limbo.
Today's your lucky day, kid.